Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another morning with Dave. Dave will be with us momentarily. Just hang tight. Looking forward to our conversation today.
Time to take a look at what's going on finances this morning. How is your IRA and your 401k doing? Well, if you don't have Boeing stock, you're probably okay. Let's go downtown, see what's going on. The Statler Financial Services. Phillip Statler's on the line. Phillip, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Hey, Dave, doing well today. Definitely the market's doing better this week than it was doing last week.
Yeah, looks like we could have a win in every measure except for the Dow. And you got to play a little bit of a violin for Boeing. Tidbit news came out this morning that now I think it's Norway is saying, Boeing, we think you ought to compensate us because we grounded our 737 fleet. And Boeing is kind of saying, wait a minute, you're doing that. We didn't tell you to. It's just not stacking up well for our friends at Boeing. They got to get through this crisis and let their stock come back.
Well, yeah, I would think if I was Boeing, I would have every manpower thing out there recertifying that there's nothing wrong with those aircraft. I mean, and the FAA says the same thing. There's nothing wrong with those aircraft, and so I think they're going to have to figure out exactly what happened to kind of curb these I don't know, anxieties, maybe you would say.
Yeah, so. They did put out, from what I was reading, being an aspiring pilot myself, I read this junk. They did put out quietly a software update to the computer-driven navigation aids that appear to be at least contributing those two crashes over in Africa. But, the American pilots are saying there's nothing wrong with these dang planes, just turn that navigation aid off that appears to have contributed to both of those crashes. When you run into a problem and it all goes away, we don't know. And I'm certainly not defending Boeing. Somewhere down the line during this investigation, something might come out where they screwed up. But right now, I'm just feeling sorry for the stockholders of Boeing because they're off again this morning and they're dragging the Dow down again below the performance of the other indexes one more day.
Well, yeah, it's true. There's a little tidbit that came out on the wires today that said that the last time that we saw the S&P 500 outperform the Dow the way it is right now was back in 2009. So it's been quite some time since we've seen this kind of competition between the two and the S&P 500 winning. But that's the way it is when you have a price-weighted index. When one of those companies gets beat up, it just really hurts the index.
And I always use occasions like this to be able to kind of make the point, too, that you make very well. You follow Standard & Poor's and just mention the Dow by comparison, and that's kind of counterintuitive to the way the nightly news does. But doggone it all, the Dow is a price-weighted index, and Boeing is making it look like a pretty crappy week this week, and the other indexes are actually in pretty good shape, right?
Well, that's true. They are, but at least this morning, from what I'm seeing, it looks like the Dow is getting a little bit of a bounce back today, even though they closed down Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, seeing a little bit of green ink anyway. It's kind of nice. Macro news out this morning, the government data dump. We got the producer price index for last month, and it was, if you're not cheering for the Federal Reserve's inflation target, it was good news. The PPI was up 0.1%. And that equates to a 1.9% annual rate. My reading, anyway, is analysts were expecting about double that increase, weren't they?
Yeah, they really were. They expected to bump up to 2%. So they're expecting a 0.2% increase. And you're right. That means that basically inflation, they just can't find it. It's non-existent right now based on those numbers. And so, that's not helping the Fed's case any either.
That word patience coming out of Paulson's lips sounds a little bit better advised at every passing turn, every report we get, right?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, this economy is definitely slowing a little bit. And so as it slows, we'll see inflation start to slow down too. And it's going to be interesting to see how this thing works out the rest of this year. We keep thinking we're going to hit the bear market button, and we've just not seen that yet. And I've read a few analysts that have come out and said, hey, based on the technicals, these are all technical people, have basically said, we're going to see a few more dips, but we think that based on the technicals, that this bull market's not done, and we could see another couple years.
I look at that earnings per share number or the price earnings ratio that I look at so doggone much, and I don't see an indication where the market is overvalued, and that's generally one of the bellwethers of a bear market. You had another analyst, a guy that runs a big mutual fund, that you told me before we went on the air, and he sees a big dip, but he's also not talking bear, I gather.
Well, he is kind of, he's talking about a major correction. I'm not sure if he classifies as a bear or not, but the guy that started Double Line mutual fund, they also have some ETFs. So those guys, he came out and said basically he expects a major correction to come up sometime in the next 3 to 12 months. Nice time frame, right? And then, but the other analysts are saying, hey, that's a buying opportunity. Let's buy the dips.
Which kind of leaves you with the notion that this whole mess is more art than science anyway, right?
Well, yeah, and so that's why if you're younger, you definitely just hold the course and keep putting money in. And if you're older, then you need to have some strategies in place to kind of protect yourself.
Exactly. For the 30-year-old, the process is called dollar cost averaging, because you're buying at peaks in which you might lose a penny or two, but then you also buy, if you put in regularly, on the dips in which you get fat and sassy. The idea is regular contributions. From the 30, the 35-year-old, that's a darn good strategy. For those of us that are measuring days to our retirements in a matter of months or a short number of years, that equation kind of changes a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, it really does. It goes back to using the prudent investor rule and making sure that you are making the right choices and protecting yourself from those market corrections. Because let's face it, there's a lot of folks that I remember back in 2000 and back in 2008 that had to put off retirement for 2 to 4 years because they were waiting for the markets to come back to get their 401ks kind of back to where they need to be.
No, understood. End of earnings season, not a lot coming out in terms of information. You and I managed to scare up a couple. Vera Bradley reported before the opening. They beat the projected earnings per share by 1 cent. And the really good news that everybody looked at on that was the fact that Vera Bradley's same-store sales did not decline anything resembling as much as the market expected them to decline. So their stock is getting rewarded this morning. I gather you've got another one that is doing better than the market expected as well.
Well, it is, but it's not. It's one of those things that it's not beating on all the little, KPIs that we look at. So it beat on earnings per share. This is Express, the retailer. They beat by 3 cents a share. However, they failed on the other two metrics, and that's revenue was below forecast, and then they had a 6% decline in same-store sales, and that was worse than the 5.6% that was expected. So, and then on top of all that, Dave, they came out and said that, hey, they're disappointed with their performance, but they're still facing more short-term challenges. And so their trade, it's not an expensive stock anyway. It's a 5 to, the 52-week high has been as high as 11. It's down 13% today, which will open at a new 52-week low at this rate.
I had a hunch you were going to tell me they were taking a bath this morning. Resetting the table for the morning. Yesterday was an off day for the Dow and an up day on the other primary indexes. Dow fell 96 points, largely on the strength or weakness of Boeing. NASDAQ, on the other hand, was up almost 33, and the Standard & Poor's a little over 8, so it was a green day for the broader-based market. 45 minutes before we open, Phillip, what are we looking at this morning so far?
So it's looking like we got green ink across the board this morning, Dave. The Dow's up $60. The S&P 500 is up 7.25. NASDAQ's up 26. Gold and silver are both trading up a half to a little over 0.5%. We got gold now at $13.06 an ounce and silver at $15.48 an ounce. And then that doggone black crude oil it is moving up pretty hefty again today. It's up 1.1% to $57.55 a barrel.
One of the tidbits I read was that Venezuela is getting worse, and that's obviously making the crude oil markets a little on the jittery side again, right?
Well, yeah, because there's some oil that comes out of there and some oil that goes in there. So it's, in the world markets, when it comes to oil, it doesn't take much to upset it.
Yeah, that's the truth. Looking across the ponds, Asia was off generally this morning at the close. Europe mixed at the moment as we get halfway through their trading day. Phillip, advice needed. How do I interpret all this? And you've got your finger on the analysts for advice for someone. How do I get some retirement advice from you?
Give us a call at 382-0037. And then they can catch us online at statlerfinancials.com. And then Facebook, we're on Statler Financial Services. Like our page. We repost this broadcast every morning. And then join us every weekend, except for this Saturday. We won't be because of the 12 hours of Sebring. We'll miss this Saturday. But we're normally on at noon on Saturdays. We're always on at 10 a.m. on Sunday mornings on News Talk 730. And then they can also stream us on, was it WWTK? And what's the website?
No, the website is newstalk730am.com, and that stream works like a charm.
Sweet. Y'all need to try that out this weekend and let us know how it sounds.
Thank you, sir. We'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good day.
All right, man. Thanks, Dave. Talk to you later. Well, that was morning Dave finishing up this morning. Glad you all were able to join us today. Hey, look, if you are concerned about your retirement and would like a second opinion, click the link above and schedule just a phone call. We can chat about your current circumstances, see if we might be a good fit for you. Take care. Look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. Y'all have a great day.